What's up, everyone, and welcome back to The Perspective. I am not your host tonight, Ethan Micheal, and alongside me is Brian and Martin. They will be your hosts for the evening. This is the show where we tackle supernatural claims, belief in aliens, conspiracy theories, and pretty much anything you want to talk about within reason. And if you are interested in presenting your case, call the number at the bottom of the screen or in the description of the video, 951 364 2430. So, Brian, how you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing all right. Glad to be here. Take some interesting calls today. I know we got already got people waiting in the queue, so I'm excited to go.
Same. Martin, what about you? How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm looking forward to the very valid and legally justified inauguration of future President Biden tomorrow. Yeah, it's a good day.
I like how you put those disclaimers in there, the legally justified.
Oh, please call me if you disagree. Please.
Yeah, I want to hear about that too. I'd like to pick some stop the steal mentality and see what's behind all that.
Yeah, we'll pretty much talk about, well, you know, almost anything within reason. Crap. 1 second. Okay. Are you guys ready for your first call?
Oh, yeah.
Let's do it.
I'm going to jump off screen. The show is yours. Steven, you are on with Brian and Martin.
Hi, Steven.
Hey. What's up, Steven?
Can you hear us?
Oh, we'll wait a sec.
Here we go. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yep, we can hear you.
We gotcha.
There we go. All right. So when I was asked some perspectives, I was thinking about it because we're talking about just, evidence for God. And I would be considered a theologian. I went to Bible seminary. I studied, but I'm not a huge scientific guy. Like I understand the science of it and I understand evidence. And I think I actually did a comment back to Ethan about this, and putting the word evidence in quotation marks, because I actually wanted to see if we could have a discussion on a different angle about godly evidence. That would be cool. You were kind of
okay. Yeah, hit us with it. What do you got?
So outside of the scientific realm, when you talk about the Bible, so when you read the Bible, there's obviously much evidence for God in there. And so one of the angles that I like to talk about is when we look at like the Bible is considered to be a non-fiction book, and it wasn't constrained as a non-fiction book by Christians. It was placed as a non-fiction book, for years, decades actually, on the New York Times bestseller list, and it was the number one book for the longest time on the list. And so I kind of want to explore the angle of, if a secular group of people says that the Bible is nonfiction, then we should read it as nonfiction. And therefore, if it's a nonfiction book and it talks about the existence of God, what is the hesitation to say, well, this book doesn't tell me about God, when if I read another nonfiction book about some other subject, say business or leadership, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes complete sense because it's nonfiction. Does that? Do you see the angle where I'm at?
Actually, that begs the question. Real quick, is a book on business nonfiction, or is it like a book on business? I mean, they might be asserting opinions that aren't necessarily, they're rooted maybe in reality, but you know what I'm getting at? Like, when I think of nonfiction, I think of like a historical text of like, this happened on this date and, these things were, or came of it.
And I believe that the Bible does reference that. It doesn't reference like specific dates for sure. It does reference periods of times
And I don't think you're going to get
like,
too much argument that the Bible has real things that actually happened in reality in it. I don't think you're going to get much pushback on that. I'm totally on board with that. Entire chains of events in the Bible are documented elsewhere in history, and we can look at the archaeological evidence and the written record of these cultures and see, that these events did happen. That's actually a ground that a lot of the mythicist arguments are based on, is what they would expect to see if the events that happened, like in the Gospels, if that was actually something that would happen at the time. You talk about the stuff like the sun blacking out and the earthquakes and all that kind of stuff that's claimed to have happened there, that would have been documented elsewhere historically.
Right. Yeah, and that's ultimately what we look for when we look for validity of evidence. And I'm speaking as a skeptic here, not as a biblical scholar at all. I grew up, with a Christian background, but I've been a believer for about 8 years now. But ultimately, what we look for is, like Brian said, we look for outside evidence. We look for another source saying, "Hey, yeah, this thing did happen on this day," and so. Ultimately, it's not a question of is the Bible wholly true, completely 100% true or 100% false. It's a question of where can we corroborate it and where can't we? And where we can corroborate it, like Brian said, is certain events, certain people living and dying in certain places. But then there's people like Moses. As far as I'm aware, there's no real other source for anything about Moses other than the text that led to the Bible being written. But if it's just a text that's been retranslated 5 times, that's not 5 different texts. That's just the same text. So I'm looking for other texts corroborating the existence of Moses, and there aren't any, as far as I'm aware.
And I would add that the mythology of lots of cultures, and the mythology and theology of almost every culture that has mythology and theology, they have real world elements included with that. There's real places. You can go to Mount Olympus. You can, you can go to, Athens and these places that show up in the Greek mythology, just using that for an example.
Right, and to spring off of that real quick, and then I'll kick it back to you, Stephen, because I know we've kind of back and forth here, the two hosts, and I don't want to take up all the time, but off the Mount Olympus comment, I was just thinking of an example to give you. So let's say that an ancient Greek text said that Zeus threw a lightning bolt from Mount Olympus and it struck and killed somebody. It could be true that somebody was struck and killed by lightning, but that doesn't indicate whether or not Zeus threw the bolt. So the text could be true about one part, but not the other. Right, and so that's what we look at. That's what I think when I see the Bible is a text that could be correct about certain things happening, but it's not correct about the reasons that they happen or the ulterior spiritual happenings as they were. Well,
okay, so then to bring back to your original point about a business book being opinion. A nonfiction business book being about business opinion, that would be generally considered true, even though it might be opinion. It feels like sometimes that we take the events of the Bible, and of course, as a literary document, I was taught, read the Bible, as reality and as literal as you can until something doesn't make sense, and then it can be, allegorical, and that does create, dialogue about, well, what makes it, this person might feel that this is allegorical versus literal. So I know that's a different discussion. But it comes back to, if, the existence of God, I think is rooted in faith, and it's rooted in the supernatural element of what God is. And so I think, from my perspective, having science is one of those things that comes in and and corroborate. What's the right word?
Oh.
Corroborate.
Well, that's something.
Yeah.
That's something we can test. Excellent. Yeah. Which areas of science do you think is corroborating the biblical text?
I think when we look at certain pieces of evolution, forgive me for not being the most scientific person, but I remember discussing like the theory of evolution, and and of course, I mean but like something like for a woodpecker. Have you either one of you guys studied like the evolution of the woodpecker?
Not specifically, but
no, not specifically either.
I might mess this up, so I'm happy to later on send you guys offline some stuff I have for it. But like the woodpecker, when the woodpecker pecks, its head shakes, its brain shakes so severely that if it wasn't designed the way it was, it couldn't exist or wouldn't live past the first peck because of the amount of force. So in that case, how can you justify or say that the evidence of God creating the woodpecker couldn't be found if there's no potential way that the first time a woodpecker pecks, it would die? So in evolution, as it was deforming, it would take.
Well, so let's. There's a bit to unpack there, but as far as woodpeckers biology goes, they're over successive generations they've built up those adaptations to allow them to feed in the way that they do and to bang their head in the way that they do. Of course, the ancestor that they had before it was specifically a woodpecker may not have had all those anatomical features. Evolution doesn't necessarily happen in a single individual specimen. It's going to happen in a population over time as they adapt to new environmental pressures. So,
right.
It would have started as something, they move into an area where there's not a lot of the food they eat on the ground, but there's a lot of food hiding under the tree bark, and they start picking up under the bark. And the ones that are more successful at eating those grubs that are hiding under the bark are the ones who live and have babies of their own that are also successful. And it goes on like that. And they continue to get more and more specialized and successful at that feeding mechanism to the point where they're hammering away at the side of a tree to pick out a grub that's 4 inches buried in there. So it goes along with. So do you not believe evolution, like common ancestry at all?
I believe that evolution exists. I don't believe that it exists in the way of explaining the entire world away.
Evolution wouldn't explain that. Evolution just is an explanation for the biodiversity. So we observe evolution. Evolution is something we see in the genes and in the fossil record, and the theory of evolution is the explanation we have for it. So evolution is the observation, what we observe, and then the theory of evolution is our explanation of why we observe that. Sorry, Martin, I keep steamrolling. You go ahead.
No, you're fine.
Yeah.
I think you're more qualified to speak on this than me, so I'm just going to chime in as a layman here. You asked Stephen about
which is fine. You can jump in too. It's been years since I've studied it, but go ahead.
Well, no, just to answer your question about why don't their brains get damaged. The ones whose brains got damaged didn't go on to reproduce. I mean, it didn't happen in a single generation, but if a woodpecker got brain damage from hammering away with its beak, to get the insects under the bark or inside of the tree or whatever. I think they go below the bark now.
Yeah.
But like Brian was saying, sure, yeah, maybe they had to go into the bark first, but yeah, ultimately, if they got brain damage from hammering, they wouldn't go on to reproduce, and whatever their genes were would not get passed down. The same way if they didn't get enough food to be considered a healthy mate, because remember, animals don't, they don't play like I like you or I don't like you, like they just kind of, they do it.
Right.
So if they weren't strong, if they couldn't, feed their family, somebody commented the evolution of the woodpecker took between 30 or 40 million years. I'm not going to argue with that. I'm not going to corroborate that. That's a great comment. Thank you. Like I said, I know next to nothing about evolution beyond what I learned in like 7th and 9th grade biology classes, and then a little bit in college. But yeah, ultimately, if they're not strong, if they aren't fertile, if they don't, if their genetics aren't good, they don't reproduce in the animal kingdom. Humans are the only ones who have kind of, I won't say that we've fought evolution per se, but there are humans that have survived in situations where if an animal sustained the same injury, they would have died and they would have been left.
We've removed ourselves from natural selection. That's why we see
Correct.
so much, when you'll hear a lot of creationist arguments for young earth creationist arguments for genetic entropy. That's why we can point at the human genome and say, hey, look at all these genetic defects, because we don't nature doesn't cull out the members with the genetic defects or the like you were talking about, injuries that we can survive because we have medical practices and we can sterilize wounds and things like that.
Even 500 years ago, breaking your leg would have, it could have killed you. It depends on how it broke.
So many people died from cavity in their tooth. The bacterial infection gets in there, gets in the bloodstream. It's over. Anyway, Stephen, back to your woodpeckers. I just wanted to follow up with that. It's kind of related. Do you believe that a woodpecker is a dinosaur, like evolved from a dinosaur, or is a dinosaur?
No, I don't actually.
Okay. So to clarify, what about a woodpecker would make it not a dinosaur? Are there any features that stand out that you think, oh, this is not a dinosaur? It's okay if you don't, if there's nothing you think of.
I don't think it's supposed to be a loaded question. It's just, he's just asking for specifics.
Yeah, because I'm teaching evolution is like one of my favorite things. Oh, he dropped.
No, we lost him.
Sorry, I
oh
thought
shoot!
You saw that. Yeah.
Oh
no, okay. So I had the YouTube chat pulled up, seeing what people were saying about woodpeckers out there.
I'm not watching chat, but with the woodpecker stuff, maybe I should, because wink. Yeah.
Before I thought you saw it, so my bad. But that's the only reason I jumped on. However, it's a perfect time for a quick commercial break, if you know what I mean. And that is February 4th, 2021, coming up in just a few short weeks. We have over 35 Christian and atheist YouTubers uniting to raise as much money as possible for recovering from religion. Anyways, I'm going to get back to letting you both run for the show, but your next caller is Alvin.
Hey, Alvin, can you hear us?
I hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep, we hear you.
Yep. Hey, welcome.
Well, thank you. How's the day going there? Oh, what was your fellows' names?
I'm Brian.
And I'm Martin.
Brian. Brian, hello, and Marvin. Yeah.
Martin.
Martin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Thanks for calling.
It's my first time to call in the show there.
Oh, that's
We're glad
awesome.
to have you. Yeah.
We appreciate it. What's going on?
Well, it's an atheist show, right? What's it called again? The title there? So,
The perspective.
My friend down the atheist perspective.
Just the perspective. We want to talk to everybody.
Yeah.
We're trying to figure out the world. So yeah.
Well, you guys are younger fellas. I was born a long time ago. You wouldn't believe what I've seen and done in my days, and coming around to the end of my life here. I suppose so. I got diabetes, and I've got pancreatic cancer.
I'm sorry to hear
my
that.
Wife, I lost my wife 2 years ago. The only thing keeping me going is got a dog here who won't die. He won't quit. He's 22.
Well, that's
I had to leave my home. After the wife died, we still did stay. I had to leave my home and go down to Tennessee. It's nice enough, but I've lived a rough life.
Yeah, sounds
I'll
like
tell you what, though,
like you've had some bumps in the road recently, man. I'm sorry to hear that.
it's more bumps in the road.
Oh yeah, definitely more than
always
bumps in the road. Yeah, we weren't. He wasn't trying to downplay it.
Oh no, yeah. I was using a colloquial expression. Your bumps sound more like
yeah,
huge potholes that just ruin your tires.
I don't know
fuck everything
how
up.
I could make it through that. So the fact that you're
Seriously.
dealing with all that.
They got me turned up on all this medication, and it's okay. I mean, I just every day's kind of the same. I'll watch the television a little bit, and I roll my own cigarettes. I can't afford these. Yeah.
They got you taking smoking cannabis or anything to help with the treatment or the sickness from the treatment?
I don't know. I don't move much. I have very limited mobility,
Mm-hmm.
and my no account. I have a son, but we don't talk. He's a no account homosexual.
Hey, Alvin. I don't mean to cut you off. But what's your perspective? Like you're sharing a lot of your life story about us, and we really appreciate that. But like, are you a God believer? Do you believe? Like, what do you believe?
Well, in my younger youth, I think I turned away from God, but I think all this time He was walking with me, and as I gotten older, and I've had personal experience with God, so I don't have no doubt that there's a God. And
okay. Yeah, that's a good place to start from. So you don't have any doubt. What is the thing that puts you in a mindset that you have no doubt? What is the piece that we're missing out? Because we're missing something. If you don't have any doubt at all, we're missing out on something.
Right.
So what are you experiencing?
So it's like this, I don't doubt 2 and 2 is 4. I don't doubt that my dog loves me, and I tell you, my dog is one of the only things that keeps me going. I don't doubt his love, and I don't doubt the love of God. I've talked to God.
Okay. Does God talk back? Is there something that we can use to measure that, to to validate, what you're experiencing objectively.
Yeah.
Mhm.
When you call your mom on Valentine's Day or Mother's Day, whatever day may be, she talks back to you. She don't talk to me, so I ain't gonna know when your mom talks to you. So when I talk to God, he talks back. It ain't gonna be something you can know about, right?
Okay, that's fair. But do you talk to God the same way you talk to you would have talked to your mother on Valentine's Day? Is it the same kind of communication, or is it different?
Well, it is communication, but it's not the same as a phone call. It's like.
I guess what I'm getting at is, do you speak and do your ears hear things?
I'm sorry, hang on.
No, it's okay.
How does God communicate his presence to you, I guess, is what we're wanting to know.
Yeah, it's like, it's the same. It's like this, I talk to God. It ain't that he talks back in words per se. It's not so much language. It's more, you just get a direct feeling. Right? It's a direct feeling. It's a direct feeling. No, hang on there. It's the same feeling you have after you get off the phone with your mom on Mother's Day, but there ain't no words. It's a direct thing. You just see it. You feel it.
I'm familiar with feelings like that. I know that kind of feeling of warmth. I actually used to get that when I went into church, but I don't believe in God anymore. But I still get that feeling when I go back to church. So I think the feeling is tied more to the place and the people than it is to the actual belief. And people kind of conflate them in their own head, and and I'm not saying you're doing this necessarily. I'm just saying when I was a believer, I think it's something that I did. But yeah, ultimately that still feels like a safe place for me because it's where I spent my childhood every Thursday and Sunday, even though I don't believe in God anymore.
Well,
so do you see how the feeling can be separate from the reality of whether or not the person is a believer?
No, I don't spend much time at church. I don't get around much, but God talks to me. I talk to him, and why should I doubt that?
Right. What I'm talking about, the feeling that we were talking about. It was a similar feeling, even though it had a different cause for both of us, because people have different feelings for different reasons. We're different people, but it's a similar feeling that we're referencing.
I know you guys. I know you boys are young. Bryant and Martin, Marvin and Martin. You boys are young, and I'm sure you have your health with you, and probably go out party and all that. When you get older,
I wouldn't say that.
All I have keeping me going now is this dog. He won't die, and I take care of him. It gives me joy in life. It's me and my ex-wife. I shouldn't say ex-wife. Me and my deceased wife. We love this dog.
For sure.
My son's in it.
You keep talking about how young I am. I'm just going to have Ethan have you call every day because I'm approaching 40 pretty quick here. So thank you for that.
Oh yeah, well I'm sure you still have your health, and you could probably get a Woody.
Yeah, for the most part, I still have my health. Yeah, but
I have most of my health. I had a few hiccups this year. Nothing COVID related, fortunately, but
yeah.
And no problem in the second department mentioned there, so that's nice.
I didn't get the COVID yet, but I do have the pancreatic cancer, so I'm slated for.
That's worse.
I don't have much longer to go. But,
Are you on a transplant list or anything?
Yeah.
What?
Are you on a transplant list or anything?
No. I've made my peace with the situation. I believe God is there. He's just there. He's a present reality in my life. I turn the TV on. I go to the religion channel, and it makes sense to me. And I don't know about you boys. You have your lives ahead of you. Everything seems like rainbows and lollipops. But when you get older,
well, hey, hold on, hey, Alvin, it really sounds like you're telling us how we think about life instead of asking us how we think about life. So instead of telling us that we see life as we view life.
You cut. I didn't hear a little bit of what you said there.
Okay, I'll say it again. That's all right. I'll slow down a little bit. I was speaking a little
You
fast.
you cut no, you cut out. It was.
Oh, did I?
You
Okay,
froze
sorry
up for
about
a
that.
sec. Yeah, you're fine.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so what I was saying is you were telling us that we see life as rainbows and lollipops because we're young, but you didn't ask us how we see life. You just told us how you think we see life. So it's kind of hard to have a conversation when you're just telling us what you think we think.
Well, you tell me how you think then.
Right. So I actually think that life right now is getting perpetually better every year as we make advances in, just our support systems in society, medical health, food distribution, all of that. But in general, I think that life in America could use a lot of work. We have a lot of people who are suffering right now. And I'm not too worried about myself. I'm comfortable. I'm employed and, well fed. But yeah, there's a lot of people who need stuff right now. So I don't think that life is all peachy or all negative. I think that life has a lot of different things for a lot of different people.
This last year should have been a wake-up call for a lot of people too. I mean, on what we can do to improve the world that we live in and be better prepared for the future. So I cut you off there, Alvin. Go ahead.
I'm not a stupid. I don't know how I sound nowadays, but I'm not a stupid man. And
oh no, I don't need to make it sound like you are. I was just sharing my perspective.
What I say to you is this: when you stand at the precipice of death and stare death in the eyes, you will see God, because you don't know at that moment.
Is there any way it could happen before then?
Okay, sorry. I have something. Yeah, well, hey, Alvin.
Hey,
Hold on, we got Ethan coming in here.
So I absolutely want to add to this conversation. So several years ago, I was suffering from horrible epilepsy and depression. I was literally dying slowly day by day is what it felt like, to the point that one night I thought I was going to die. I didn't think I was going to wake up. So I grabbed a pen and a piece of paper and I wrote notes to all the people I cared about and put them in a drawer. So I very much was staring death in the face. My health was horrible. I was having seizures 10 to 20 times a day. I did not see God. In fact, I came out less convinced of a God being existent, because in my opinion, a God wouldn't let people suffer like that. So more specifically though, what would you say is reliable evidence that we could talk about for the existence of a God?
Well, as I said, I'm sorry you had to go through all those troubles there, and I spoke to God directly on many occasions there, and so I asked all of you, why shouldn't I? God, when I spoke to him.
How do you know you're actually speaking to God?
Well, how do you know you're in a room?
Well,
because when I look around, my eyes see that I'm in a room, and if I keep on walking until I hit a wall, I hit the wall.
We can function.
That's two senses. See, this is why I was asking you earlier, Alvin, about if you heard him with your ears or if you spoke with your mouth, because things can happen in your head, and I don't mean in you meaning Alvin. I mean you're in all of our heads. Like any human can have this happen to them, where they think they hear something or they think they see something. And I'm not saying that you weren't convinced that it was the case, but what I'm saying is, how do I know that I'm in a room? Well, I can touch the room. You can see on camera, if you're watching, I'm touching the door next to me. I can see the room. If I were to spray something, I could smell the room. There's multiple senses confirming that. Whereas when you're, hold on, I'm not done. I'm almost there, I promise. When you're talking about how you're speaking to God, but you're not actually speaking and you're not actually hearing, it's kind of just, it sounds like it's just happening in your head to us.
You're almost there, but I was almost there last night in the middle of a dream, and I touched the wall, and I also touched a beautiful woman in the dream, and I was almost there. I woke, My dog.
I mean,
well,
we could
Right,
we
but
could
you
go down
but you
the brain
know
of
that the
vat.
beautiful. Sorry, go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, let's say we could go down the brain of the vat argument to say, how do we know that anything we experience is real? So we need a baseline for which we start accepting things as real. Can
I've heard of
you
that, but I
experience
don't know
with
the whole philosophy there.
can you experience with multiple senses? Can you verify it with other individuals? You know, those sorts
This
of
was
things.
This is beyond sensory. I don't. I just knew the truth in my
Well-
heart. It's just the same as I say to you. Like, you know,
Everything that
you
we
say-
know
you
is
say to me-
sensory.
you say to me, you can touch the wall. I say to you, I'm in a dream. I can touch the damn wall. It don't make the dream true. So I will.
But
I
no,
was
but
even
you
more
can
sure
you
than
can
ever.
see me
Any
touching the
dream,
wall.
any waking reality experience. Oh, what?
Alvin, if this is just a dream, why did you call us? Because you were bored in the dream? What is your argument?
No, I'm just comparing what you're saying to one of the fellas there, Marvin or Martin, said, it said that the way you know that you're in a room is because you touch the wall. But I touched the wall. I touched a lot more than a wall in my dream, and I didn't make it real.
No. But that's the thing is when you didn't listen to the full thing that I said. So I'm going to say it again. I'd like you to listen to the whole thing. I can both see the wall with my eyes and touch the wall with my hands. That's two senses confirming that yes, there's a wall. When you're dreaming, your eyes are closed. So that's not the same.
What I'm saying is, in the dream, I touched the wall.
So-
I saw the wall. I heard
You
the wall.
didn't, but you didn't see the wall with your eyes, so you didn't actually see it. You saw it in your mind's eye, and that's this elusive kind of, I don't want to call it a sixth sense, but it's the concept of thinking that humans appear to be uniquely able to describe.
Yeah, your brain.
In the dream, I had eyes. So in the dream.
No, that's not the same, though, because I could dream that I have $1 million, but do I have $1 million, Alvin?
How do you know you're not dreaming right now, though? That's the whole thing.
If we're dreaming right now, Ethan, I'd like you to hang up on him, and that is my dream.
Well, okay. So, how do we know that we're
I
not
think I'm
dreaming
done.
right now? So we can independently. Hold on. We can independently verify that with other individuals. That's a good way for your dream's a great example of that. You come to me and say, you know, I have this beautiful woman here with me right now, and you turn on your camera and I look in, and there's nobody there. I can say there's nobody there. It was a dream, and that would be independently verifying that. Alternatively, there could be a woman there with you that's beautiful, and I say, yep, there's a woman there with you, and confirm that. That's independently verifying that. So I'm not sure why we would have trouble differentiating between what's. Go ahead.
I don't know if any of you boys seen the war.
Seen war? No, fortunately, I have not.
Have you?
War sounds
I've
terrible.
seen war up close now.
Alvin,
I've
how
killed
old are
men.
you? What's your age?
68.
What year were you born?
Shit, if I don't remember.
Yeah, no, that shouldn't take you that long. Sorry, sir.
What war were you in?
He's gone. He was clearly
That is
troll.
literally how you get to trolls immediately. You ask them in rapid succession 2 questions, and if they can't verify them, they're a troll. Like, that's just how I get through it. I'm like, nope, you're done. Bye-bye.
See, and that's what's frustrating to me is like I really do want to weed those people out. So we've only had.
Oh, that's fine. I still stand by all of my arguments that I made, even if he was faking.
And you know, we actually want to talk to people. We don't want to talk to someone who doesn't believe what they say. That really not interesting. We want to talk to people who actually believe things. That includes anti-vaxxers, flat earthers. You have a conspiracy theory. We want to talk to you. But
I work with an anti-vaxxer.
We don't want to talk to Pose is basically what it comes down to. If you're just playing a game, you're wasting our time. We want to understand why people actually have these beliefs and what evidence they have for the beliefs that they're building on these, or what they're building these beliefs on. But yeah.
And thank you in the audience. I don't want to say your name wrong, but MAZZR. Appreciate you pointing that out, because right when you said that, I notified them in the chat, and Martin quickly got to the bottom of it. So Really appreciate it.
Yeah, whoever prompted that, thank you. And like that's the thing is I don't want to treat anybody like they're a troll until they give me very good reason to think so. And Alvin gave us a few reasons, but I wasn't sure if like something, I mean they mentioned that there are a few things going on as far as their health goes, and I didn't want to exclude them for any reason other than a good reason. But yeah, when I asked him what year he was born and he couldn't tell me, but he knew his age, you're done.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
And, what stinks is like right in the beginning, I chatted Martin Bryan. I'm like, something's off with this guy. I didn't go with my hunch. And Martin's
You
like,
did.
let's play it out.
Yeah, it's all documented right over here.
Like I said, I didn't want to, and that confirms what I said. I didn't want to assume anything negative about him until he gave me a good reason to. But yeah, Ethan's gut was 100% right here.
Well, and he suddenly got smarter as the conversation went on. Like he starts going into the how do you know the precept, and I'm like, this guy is not who he's portraying himself to be.
See, and I don't normally talk to precepts, so I don't always recognize the lingo. I've only heard them like on AXP and your show and other stuff.
They're yeah. We didn't go down that route, which is it's fortunate because it gets circular.
Yeah, and see that's why I don't bother. I'm like, no, if I want to talk in circles, like I'm just gonna, I can do that on my own.
Yeah. So I actually typically want this show to stay away from presuppositionalists anyway. Most people get lost in those conversations, including myself. They get so boring, and it's just like, I'm not good. I'm good with that. But hey, you believe in Bigfoot, aliens? Give us a call.
Yeah. Q. If you're a Q person, I really want to talk to you. Like, I think it's a very important conversation that we need to have. So if anybody out there is watching who's, MAGA or Q, please call us. Like, we're dying to talk to you.
Yeah. Or stop the steal people, like we said earlier. I'd love to pick someone's brain about that. Just see what's going on there. We do have one caller on the line here. You want to get to?
Yep, I'm going to jump back off. The show is again yours.
Thanks, Ethan.
All right.
That was an interesting little road bump there.
Back. Well, let's see if Benjamin has a good argument for us.
Let me put on my nice lights again.
Benjamin, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you, Benjamin.
Glad you're here. What do you got for us?
So I'm a little bit more philosophically robust, I think, than your previous two callers.
Okay.
So hopefully I'll be able to add some substantive thoughts to this conversation and give us all some juicy nuggets to reflect on. So I am myself an atheist, but I'm also a philosopher of religion. And so I do find the questions in the philosophy of religion to be quite interesting. And there are a few that, while they haven't moved me to the theist camp, I do think they're worth taking seriously. And so I was hoping that I'd be able to share two of those arguments with y'all tonight and just see what y'all think. And so they will be more in line with the argument that your first caller gave, which is an argument from what's called natural theology. So it's the idea that we're trying to infer the existence of God from facts that are independent of something like revelation. Whereas your second caller had more of a reformed epistemology type approach, where he wanted to, where a belief in God was something non-inferential, something that's immediate, like our knowledge of the external world, or the knowledge of other minds, or the knowledge that we're not currently dreaming. And so I'll try to stay away from that kind of line of argument because, like, as we just saw, it's not a very fruitful way of trying to argue the existence of God. And so the arguments of natural theology that I find most interesting are a version of a cosmological argument and a version of a teleological argument. And so to take those in turn, the first one is an argument from contingency. And so one of the perennial questions of philosophy is, why is there something rather than nothing? Why is there anything at all? Why this something instead of something else? And cosmological arguments are one attempt to try to answer these questions. And according to the argument from contingency, the universe must have an explanation because the universe is contingent or could have failed to exist. And it must have an explanation that is not merely another contingent thing, but rather something necessary. Even if we can see the universe has always existed, it still must depend on something necessary. And that necessary thing is what some theists call God.
Right.
And so the basic idea starts with
I've heard that one.
The intuition that the universe is a contingent thing and is the set of all other contingent things. And in conjunction with the principle of sufficient reason, we can say that any contingent thing must depend on something other than itself. Therefore, the universe must depend on something other than itself. And in the second stage of the argument, we can argue that that necessary thing is a perfect being. Now, this second move from the conclusion that the universe must depend on something other than itself to this leap to this necessary being with these moral properties is quite a leap, and it creates what's called the gap problem. So while we might have pointed to something beyond the universe that the universe might depend on, and we might call this God, there are other options available to us here. And so this argument also couldn't, even in principle, undercut something like an argument from evil, because it doesn't make any reference to moral properties. This argument is just prima facie evidence for God. It doesn't quite get us there. So we need something else. And that's where I think we can have another interesting conversation with a teleological argument.
Well, wait, hold on. We haven't had much of a conversation, though.
I know, sure.
So, quite a preamble there.
Yeah.
Okay, so the cosmological argument, it's always an interesting direction that it goes in. I'm assuming that you're going with like the prime mover and all that, right?
No, that is the prime mover is going to be one of Aquinas's versions of the cosmological argument.
Yeah.
So that's going to argue for something like a first mover, that there's something like change in the world.
Yeah, something that started the something.
So it's related, but it's different.
Yeah. So how do we best argue against the first argument you presented before we get onto the next one? Because I'm curious what your thoughts are on that.
Absolutely, excellent. You set me right up.
No, I appreciate it.
So there's several different lines of attack, if you will.
Right.
So one of the most common ways to avoid the conclusion of this argument was given to us by Bertrand Russell. And he just says that the universe is a brute fact. He objects that the existence of the universe might be a brute fact in the sense that it is a contingent thing with no further explanation. There is no reason why there is something rather than nothing. If the existence of God is a satisfactory brute fact, then so is the universe. The universe just is. Mm-hmm. So that's a very simple, straightforward way of trying to deny the conclusion of an argument from contingency. Another way, and this in my mind is the strongest way to avoid the conclusion, is that the universe might be necessary or self-dependent in the sense there is a certain type of whole of parts, with each individual being dependent on earlier individuals in the sequence. Necessarily, there is at least one member of the set of contingent things. The reason the universe as a whole exists is because it is composed of or is identical with these successively dependent states. Each state of the universe is sufficiently explained by earlier parts of the universe. And the existence of the universe as a whole is entailed by the existence of all the parts that compose this whole. A third way we can try to avoid this argument is by denying the principle of sufficient reason. So this is David Hume's move in saying that even if the principle of sufficient reason applies to events in the world, we cannot extrapolate from the way the world works to the world as a whole without committing the fallacy of composition. It's true that every goose in the flock has a mother, but it's not true that the flock has a mother. And so we might run into a similar problem with the principle of sufficient reason.
Yeah, no, I got you.
And
hey,
then,
Benjamin, I just want to say I really appreciate you calling and sharing so much with this, but we're trying to just get more into a dialogue here. So like
sure.
I'm trying to think of a question I can ask you or something that we can dive a little deeper on here, because I know we don't have a whole lot of disagreement if we're all atheists, obviously, but yeah. So Brian, do you have anything?
No, well,
Sorry, I just had to pause you real quick.
No, he didn't say anything that I necessarily disagree with. So I really don't have any.
I do know that, like, as far as Hume and Russell, like I'm lightly familiar with their works, but like the thing that presuppers don't really get, and this is what I really want to let them know, is that like I just don't care about what they think about assumptions, about, presupposing, because like the whole thing about presupposition is that you have to make one assumption and then you can deduce everything. And it's like, no, you can't start with any assumptions. You have to start with evidence. And yeah, so I don't know. I don't find much weight in presup arguments at all. I'm sure they think they're good.
You start with I think, therefore I am, and work my way out from there. That's kind of where I go. And like what we were talking about with Alvin earlier, it's once you decide that you are a person who exists, then you can start inferring data from your environment to kind of form a picture of the world you live in. And we should always all be working towards that. Still trying to figure out, what's true about the world we live in. I think making inferences about and I'm not saying that we'll never be able to look further back than we have, because there's a bit of a misconception about things like the Big Bang, or essentially what I prefer to be calling before cosmic expansion, because Big Bang was just a derogatory term come up with to describe this furthest back that we can look mathematically at the origins of the universe and the current state that we see it. It's not necessarily speaking towards the whole cosmos, but towards our universe and looking at that point in time. And a lot of people will move forward on these presuppositional arguments as if the claim is that the singularity, or the state before cosmic expansion, is the beginning of the universe. I don't think that that's a claim that anybody's prepared to make at this point. Sorry about the rambling there.
But you're good.
I'm certainly guilty of it too, so I'll only throw stones.
No, we really appreciate you calling, Benjamin. You definitely have a perspective that I don't have on the philosophy behind this, so we do appreciate you sharing.
So
that's for
let
sure.
me, in the spirit of a dialogue here, let me try to parse out something for your listeners here. So the cosmological arguments come from the tradition of natural theology, whereas we were just now discussing another tradition that runs parallel, which is the presuppositional tradition. And so what that tradition is trying to do is trying to argue that God is a necessary precondition for something in the world. And so we get this kind of transcendental argument from Kant, where Kant, famously said, look, we have to have this, if we're going to make sense of reality, then we have to have this kind of a priori knowledge that's not analytical. It's not true by definition, but we know it independent of experience. And so the presuppositionalist tradition tries to argue that things like knowledge, just to even have knowledge at all, that God would be a necessary precondition somehow to knowledge. So you're not really using the same methodology that something like a natural theologian would use, who would be trying to go in and using facts, a shared domain of facts, and then trying to infer the existence of God from those facts or deduce them from it. What they're trying to do is say, look, this just has to be the way the world is. If the world isn't this way, we can't make sense of it. We fall into absurdity. And I'm sure you've heard all
that's the turtles all the way down argument, right? Like, what's on the back? Oh, it's a turtle. What's on the turtle? Or what's that turtle on? Oh, it's another turtle. You know, argue or what is it?
Well,
Argumentum
so that's one objection. That's
absurdum,
certainly
something like
the worry of an infinite regress in our knowledge is certainly a worry that they try to appeal to. The problem of induction is another very common one. You know, if again, David Hume pointed out that we can't justify something like induction, and so that this should worry us. This
Right.
Skepticism looms because of this problem, and so the presuppositionalist wants to come in and say, look, God is the missing piece. The reason that induction doesn't make sense like this is because you have to insert the radically dualistic metaphysics of God into epistemology in order for it to make it work. Now, I don't think that strategy is successful.
That's not a great way about evaluating evidence. Sorry, Benjamin. I hate to cut in like this. We really appreciate having you on, man. But I think we're gonna move on past this conversation now. But thank you so much for calling.
Appreciate you calling in with your insight on philosophy and epistemology, and yeah, we appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, sorry to cut you off.
having
We
me
just
on.
gotta wrap and move on. But take care.
Yeah, I can't believe we don't have any other callers. Normally we got some lined up with some good claims or exciting things like conspiracy theories, aliens, but I don't have any more. That last conversation, real nice guy, but I think he was just talking to himself the whole time. So
I mean, we were there. I don't know who he was talking to. No, I'm just kidding. I don't want to be that much of a dick because like I get what he was getting at.
Nice guy, very nice.
Super nice guy.
That's the problem, though, when you get a bunch of atheists together to discuss things like epistemology. We're just going to end up like agreeing with each other about stuff,
right?
And he wanted to lay out different cards on the table to say, well, there's this option, this option. It's like, in my position on most of those is, yeah, it could be one of those. It's not. I don't say it's that one or it's that one. I don't know.
Right.
And that's why
Sean Bryant in chat asks, so do you guys ignore philosophy? No, but I don't see philosophy as prescriptive. It's a way that we describe reality and a way that we analyze reality. In a classroom setting, that's nice, and you can take that and apply it in real life, but we don't ignore it. It's just not, it's not the reason I do things.
And additionally, there are a lot of other shows that tackle philosophy, and they're really, really good at it.
Right. That's not us.
Yeah, exactly.
You can go back, and me and Ethan do talk philosophy with people on a regular basis. We don't claim any kind of expertise in it, and I don't necessarily think it's always the best way to examine the evidence. I just don't always think that it's the best way. It's the best way to examine, the potential for the evidence, but as far as looking at the evidence itself.
Well, and here's the thing.
Ooh, wait, Sean, how about you call in? How about you call us, Sean?
Yeah,
we can talk about this.
Well,
and not that I even disagree with you. I just want to hear what you have to say about science and philosophy.
Well, and here's the other thing to keep in mind. Like,
scientific method
philosophy does not matter to the layman. I'm sorry if that hurts your feelings, but it's true. And there are plenty of other shows that do that. But the way I see it, I don't need to get more people interested in philosophy to come on and talk philosophy. I need to get the traditional layman who typically doesn't engage in these type of topics. I want them listening. And those people, like myself, often just get bored or lose interest. Or at times, you feel intellectually out of depth. It makes you feel stupid, and then you stop watching. I want this show to have a more mass appeal. And unfortunately, with things like that, we get a little less philosophy. Like, I don't want to go into presuppositionals either. Like, that's just like, I'll engage them like in a debate or another setting, but that's not the goal of this particular show.
Yeah, if you want to call in and talk about the philosophy of science or naturalism, please give us a call.
So,
we're here. Lines are open.
Just a quick Google shows me that there is a philosophical method in addition to a scientific method. I'm not familiar with the difference between the two. That is just what Google told me at face value when I Googled scientific method. Is it a philosophy? But yeah, I don't really think it's a philosophy. I think it's a series of it's essentially trial and error, but with a lot more like data involved. Like that's
Well,
the scientific.
the most important part of the scientific method is the peer review process, where
Right. Well, that too.
You let it passes through different hands, and different people get to look at it from maybe different angles and different tests. But I don't have a problem with calling it a philosophy. If you want to call it a philosophy, it's a philosophy for finding the way to truth about the natural world, I suppose.
Yeah.
Right. And we do have a caller.
Yay.
Trigger warning. I didn't screen this call, so it's just
Uh-oh.
going live. So
Trigger warning.
Jonathon, you're on with Brian, Martin, and Ethan. How are you?
I'm doing good. You?
Good. What did
Hey,
you
thanks
All
for
right.
calling.
talk about?
I want to talk about, because you guys had said, I've been listening in, that if there was something about the philosophy of science or naturalism that you wanted us to call in. Did I hear that right?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So I don't have a particular hardcore view on this, but I wanted to provide like an argument for scientific, what would maybe be called scientific anti-realism, and see what you guys thought about it.
Scientific anti-realism.
So fakeism?
Yeah, I mean, the view will just be, well, it's not that it's fake. It's just that
It's
science
anti-real.
in its endeavors doesn't really track truth. It kind of just tracks what we think are virtuous hypotheses or whatever.
Oh, let's get into that. How does science assess virtue?
Well, I'll just start off with the argument, and then I'll talk about the virtue.
Okay.
So the argument is basically this, that in science, we posit a lot of unobservables or theoretical entities that help us have explanatory power and simplicity, things like that. So for example, like we don't actually see quarks. We don't actually literally see electrons, obviously. But what we do is we have an observable data set, which we say, look, we construct hypotheses.
Hold on, just real quick. So when you say we don't see, are you talking about like see with our eyes? Because we have tools to measure these things. We can't observe them with our senses, but we can use tools to help. It's like seeing we don't see a black hole when we look through a telescope. We see the light that the black hole is affecting.
I agree. We see the effects, and then we infer what the cause is.
All right, we see the effect of electrons. Okay, go on. I'm with you so far.
What I'm saying is, so what we do is we have an observable data set, or at least a directly observable data set, and then we construct different hypotheses to try to explain that data and make sense of that data in the quote-unquote best way we can. And this is where the theoretical virtues come in. So like there's Occam's razor, for example, which is that we shouldn't multiply unnecessary entities in our hypothesis. There's also explanatory power, like does it actually explain the data? Like, so for example, with black holes give an explanation for the things we see, right? And I think we're in agreement so far on what I've said.
Yeah, I'm with you so far.
Okay. Yeah, and so the argument from here is the move from here is just that if you think about the process that we've just underwent, we haven't actually underwent a process that seems to track truth. What we've underwent is just a process that seems to track what is, in our opinion or in our view, the most virtuous hypothesis, because you could construct a potentially infinite number of hypotheses that equally explain the data of like black holes or of, whatever data you're gonna look at. And so we're not really tracking the truth of the hypotheses. We're just tracking what is the most simple hypothesis and the one that, explains things the way we like it to be explained.
No.
And so the argument from there is just, it doesn't track truth.
Wait, you made a lot of assertions.
So,
I don't even remember where I wanted to start with this. Brian, you start. I'll figure it out.
When you say hypothesis, there can be multiple hypotheses for for a phenomenon or an observation. There can we definitely we not only can there be, we should expect that there's multiple explanations, and then we test those explanations. And as far as testing, a lot of people want to think that, oh, this means take it into the lab and do it. That's why people say, oh, you can't observe evolution, etc. But what we mean by test is basically make a prediction on what the results are going to be if we perform certain actions. If we mix this and that, what the results are going to be. That's our hypothesis. We can do hypothesis on things like the fossil record to say, if this species evolved from this species in this rock layer, we should find this transitional form, things like that. And again, like we said with the black hole, we say, if there's a black hole there, we should see the light bend this way, and we put our probes out there, and we do detect that. So to say that we're making best guesses, I wouldn't call them guesses. I would say that we've tested the observation to try to figure out the meaning, or not the meaning, I'm sorry, the reason behind it, and this is the best explanation that we can find.
Well, when you say the point is that when you say best explanation, you're not really picking out, like, it's not a
right, because science doesn't work that way.
Right.
Science is never going to tell you this is the truth. This is a proof. There's no proofs in science. It's going to be, it's always going to be, this is best we know. That's the closest we can get, is to say that this is the best we know. We could have. Go ahead.
The point of the argument is just what you said, which is that science doesn't actually track truth. It just tracks what we take to be the most, and when I say virtuous, I don't mean in necessarily an ethical sense, but the most virtuous theories, right? Where the theories that have the most explanatory power are most in conformity with past observation. And
I really want to get to this virtue thing.
Okay, I'll step back and you all go ahead.
Yeah. So what virtues do you think science advocates?
Sure. So let's say you have two hypotheses, and they both, let's say that just for the sake of argument, they both equally explain the data they're trying to explain.
Well, no, that can't be true.
One,
like, that's literally not how. Okay, continue. Sorry.
Well, so the point is, you could have two hypotheses that both have explanatory resources that explain a given data set. And the point is, if one has unnecessary entities, right, entities that you don't need to add them into the hypothesis in order to actually get those explanatory resources, then science would say via Occam's razor that hypothesis is
No, sir. Occam's razor is not a part of the scientific method. Occam's razor is how we can assess different claims at face value, and we can deduce which of them is most likely to be accurate. Believe me, scientists in a lab are not saying, well, this took 5 steps and this took 6, so Occam's razor, we go with the 5-step one. That must be true. That's not how that works.
If you just look up what Occam's razor is, it's a scientific and a philosophical principle that we shouldn't multiply.
Yeah, but you're not going to.
Okay, but that doesn't. Okay, but rulers are used in a lab setting. That doesn't mean that you're going to use a ruler to measure all things. It's a tool. You have to use it when it's the appropriate time to use it. So, according to Occam's razor, if I drop something and it falls, gravity. Not I drop something and spirits come and push it to the ground. Because Occam's razor tells me that there aren't spirits when gravity makes sense.
No, it doesn't tell you that. It absolutely doesn't tell you that. The point, look, when I'm talking about entities and multiplying entities, I'm not talking about things like rulers that we use to measure. I'm talking about, in the hypothesis, we posit certain directly unobservable things. So, for example, by direct observation, we don't observe black holes. They are posited as a way to explain, as an entity to explain the data that we see, and we think that it best explains that data. But if I were to posit, let's say we see like a ray of light somewhere.
You moved past the thing that I asked. I'm sorry. No. We need to bring it back. What virtues do you think science purports?
Yeah, theoretical simplicity.
Theoretical simplicity.
Otherwise, yes, meaning that, and I was just explaining this.
Is
to
that
you,
a
right?
virtue?
That if you have not array of sun, if you have an array of lights that's like going through space or something, I don't know, just take any data. You could have two hypotheses, but one could just multiply. Like for example, one could have God in its hypothesis, right? And you would say, well, why do you need God in this hypothesis to explain this data? It's just an unnecessary, unobservable entity that you've posited. And so science looks at these hypotheses and says, look, if you have unnecessary entities being posited or entities beyond necessity being posited, then that's a bad hypothesis. And the one that's more simple and does more explanatory work is a quote unquote better theory. And that's a theoretical virtue.
I think we need to get into a concrete example. We're talking big brain ideas here. We need to bring it back down to earth so I can fully understand what you're saying. So give me an example of when this happens that science doesn't science properly.
Yeah. Well, take something like evolution, like you said earlier.
Okay, evolution. Yeah. Let's go.
Take it and run with it.
Are we not on the air right now?
Yeah. No, we're live. You were saying
yeah, no, we're live.
We do need to probably be wrapping up here pretty quick because we got a few calls backed up now, and but we want to make sure we have time for everybody. But evolution. So you're saying that the scientific method doesn't work correctly for evolution?
Well, no. What I'm saying is you can't actually prove evolution through science.
Okay, but we have seen species that have evolved into different species to the point where they cannot breed with each other.
Can I just clarify that you're not going to prove you're not going to prove anything through science? Science doesn't produce proofs.
Right. And
well,
Brian
said that. Theories,
Brian said that twice now. Just want to reiterate.
Yeah. So you wait. So I don't know why you were like. It just seems sort of either dishonest or it seems like maybe there's a communication error, because that was my argument from the beginning, is that science isn't in the business of proving anything and that or any hypothesis over another. It's just in the business of evaluating what we take to be the best hypotheses are.
Well, it's not the best hypothesis. I mean, they do papers are produced on hypothesis. Usually have a conclusion though before things get published. So you don't publish with the hypothesis, you publish with the conclusion, and then people can look at your work and see if it's repeatable and if they get the same conclusion. That's the peer review process. So
hypothesis repeatable is certain direct observations that we think are in accord expected on a hypothesis.
I didn't catch that. Did you?
Did you
catch that?
Stop. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was asking if you could repeat what you were just saying. I don't think I followed that.
So with testability or repeatability, what you're testing and repeating is not the hypothesis. What you're testing and repeating is observations that you take to be, or that are in accord or expected or more probable on the hypothesis.
Well, usually what you're taking, because there's hardly an experiment you can do now that somebody hasn't done before, is when you make a hypothesis, you're building it on previous data in what your peers have concluded in their data sets, and you're comparing what you get as a result to what they got. So it's not so much just this is what I got and I'm going to publish this paper and that's going to become the new standard, because people can produce papers on anything and get them published. Like we talked about, me and Ethan talked about on that Matt Powell video, people produced a paper that said octopuses came from space. It doesn't mean that's what the majority body of evidence shows. That's just what one person's hypothesis that they built and put together. That's what they came out with at the end of that. And it didn't comport with reality, but they can make a hypothesis and produce the data and the way they drew their conclusion that octopuses came from space. They can do that, and that's one scientist, not the scientific method.
Well, I'm not saying that because individual scientists can be wrong and the scientific method is quote unquote wrong. It very well could be the case that like evolution is true. But what I'm saying is the scientific method and like the methodology we kind of cashed out earlier, constructing hypotheses, doesn't actually get you any closer to the hypothesis being true. It just gets you closer to saying that the hypothesis has certain theoretical virtues, things like
what do you mean close? It doesn't get you any closer to true. So if you do the same experiment over and over again and get the same result, yeah, there's always a chance the next time the experiment is done, you'll get a different result. But we're building on the fact that this is what the results show. This is the conclusion. This is what happens when we put this to the test. So. Yeah, that's making this argument. You can make the same argument that we don't know the sun's going to come up tomorrow just because we saw it come up every day. Go ahead.
No, I mean, I think you're well. So name what you take to be the strongest repeated finding or evidence that indicates evolution to you.
Ooh, I got this. Can I go, Brian?
Yeah, go ahead.
Changes.
By the way,
yeah, changes in allele frequency over time. It happens in every species on Earth.
Yeah, but
every generation.
Every generation. That's evolution.
Yeah, I think what I'm looking for. Yeah, well, I think by that definition, I don't think really a lot of people are disputing evolution. I think what we're talking about is like maybe I should be more clear about common ancestry.
Okay. Again,
the
answer is the
common
same,
ancestry is explained by changes in allele frequency over time. That's the full sentence. You asked me what is your evidence for evolution, and I said changes in allele frequency over time, and then you said no, what convinces you of evolution? And I said, I'm convinced of evolution, common ancestry, because of changes in allele frequency.
What I said is I wasn't clear about what I meant by. I'm talking specifically right now about universal common ancestry. I wasn't talking about the very idea that there are changes in allele frequency. We
can observe that by looking at the genome, though. We can see how far back animals are related to other species and track their evolution over the eons. We can see how much genetic divergence they have from the root stock of a common ancestor with another species or another clade. There's actually a great resource for that called the Phylogeny Explorer Project. If you're interested in phylogenetic mapping, go ahead and check that out. It's really an awesome resource.
I'm not sure what it is, but I'm just saying, look, so take the data that there's genetic divergence and similarity the farther back you go, and divergence the more recent it is or something between species. That could be explained by there being some ultimate alien race.
Hey, Jonathan, I'm sorry. Hold on. Jonathan, please stop. This is purely technical, has nothing to do with your argument. We are getting a lot of complaints in chat that there is an echo, and I can hear myself through your microphone. So please either turn off your speakers or turn off your speakerphone.
Yeah, we don't know what's picking up, but...
Yeah, and this is something that's been coming and going for the whole time you were talking. We just didn't want to be discourteous and interrupt you.
Okay, and
weird. Go ahead.
I was
hearing a weird echo type thing.
Yeah, we were hearing a bit of an echo too. We were just trying to let you get your argument out. So what we were talking about So what we're talking about here is genetic homologies and analogies. So where is the line to where we can say? Where's the line that we can say that this is the result of a common designer versus a common ancestry? Because we use these same things, these same methods to track, like if someone sends in their DNA to see where their ancestors came from, they take that and they test it against people from all over the world to find out what people group that they're descendant from. We can use those same methods moving back, not just through your human ancestry, but into the ancestry with other members of the animal kingdom and so on back. So if your argument is that we're going to say that, when it comes to other humans, this is accurate, but once it gets beyond, at what point do we say it's not accurate anymore? It's just
not
common
about
design.
accuracy. it's not even technically about accuracy. It's about how we can actually say that it's actually tracking truth and distinguishing that from it just happening to be true. So when you see genetic similarity and genetic difference and you see it in this way, there's tons of alternative hypotheses that can equally explain that data that aren't positing a universal common ancestor. And there might even be some that don't even posit a common designer.
I mean, there could be, you know, at someone's DNA at the crime scene that just saying, oh, someone else had the same DNA as me. You can't prove that that's not true, right. But and that would be scientific to say that you can't 100% prove that that's my DNA, even though it matches with my DNA. That's
right. That's why we go with beyond a reasonable doubt.
How do you show that one hypothesis is more likely to be true than another? Without
testing
them,
because it comports with reality a majority of the time. That's why when you suggested, I'm going to talk over you for a sec here. Sorry, I need to get something out. That's why when you suggested that two hypotheses could equally explain the same thing with the exact same explanatory power, but they were different hypotheses, that's why I objected, because that's not how the world works. Well, magnets don't have both negative.
I mean, I can give you two right now.
Okay. And then we got to move on to another caller. But give me two hypotheses that.
Yeah, you don't have an argument. I can give you two hypotheses that equally explain the data.
Okay, what are the two hypotheses and what data?
So science doesn't. Well, sure. Like the one. So universal common ancestry can explain just as much about the genetic, specifically about genetic similarity and divergence, as there being a god or an alien race that came and created distinct yet similar species that aren't technically biologically related.
But we know evolution happens in other species. So using Occam's razor, as you stated earlier, we can deduce that evolution happening in other species means that it can also happen in our species. And a god coming in, according to Occam's razor, a god coming in would actually be a little bit more than the other hypothesis. So
especially considering we observe it happening naturally. We observe this happening naturally. So
I realize you don't like that I just used your argument against you, but I did.
No, it wasn't my argument. Occam's razor doesn't track truth. That was my whole argument. You're not following the conversation. Occam's razor just tracks what the most virtuous theory is. It doesn't track what the truth is. So you just conceded my argument.
Virtuous theory.
You don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you're throwing all these words around, man. I think we got to move on. I really appreciate you calling, though. Sorry, I'm kind of a dick sometimes.
I appreciate you taking my call.
Hey, no problem.
Okay.
All right, take it easy.
Yep, you chill.
Okay, so the echo was either because of him or there's this StreamYard glitch. Can you hear me?
It was him.
Okay,
we can hear you.
Okay, so there is a glitch in StreamYard right now that apparently if you share your screen, it causes some type of echo. So anyways, and that's what I was doing is sharing my screen to share that audio.
Okay. Gotcha.
Let's, for the record, or never mind.
Maybe it wasn't him then. Sorry.
Mr. Batman did call in, but I ever so politely declined his call. He said I didn't want my worldview wrecked and just complete transparency.
Ethan,
I said no. I just think he's a jackass. So,
but Ethan, I like to talk to those people. They're fun.
I like.
You want to talk to Mr.
I like to play. I like to play with them.
I like to talk to people who are respectful. But last time that I was on this show, he accused us of having no morals, and he was
really rude to IQ too. Like really rude to him. Yeah.
Well, don't be rude to IQ.
Wait.
No, okay, I didn't realize there was a history with this person. Maybe I don't want to talk to them.
I'm getting echo now. Is that me or is that you guys?
I don't hear any echo.
Thanks for the validation at Best Name Ever that he was advocating for Occam's razor, even though he wasn't claiming that it led to truth value, because that's what I heard. And then when I used Occam's razor to debunk his claim, he didn't like that very much, and said that I didn't understand it. So here we are. Moving on.
Okay. I think I figured out the echo now. Yeah. All right. So it is when I share my screen. Once I stopped sharing my screen, that echo went away. So let's get to our next caller. I did kind of like pre-screen these. Hopefully they go well. But Cameron, you are on with Martin, Brian, and Ethan. How are you?
Hello. How you doing, boys?
Hey, Cameron.
Good, Cameron. How are you?
Hey,
Did we lose you?
No,
Uh-oh.
okay. I'm dropping him. So check this out.
What's up?
When I pre-screened him, he was not doing that voice he was just doing. And there was the way he said he wanted to talk about homosexuality.
Wait, no, but okay.
He changed his voice when we answered to, "Hey, how you doing?" Like that was not there.
Okay. I mean, I don't know. I'm as a gay man, I might do that. Like, "Hey, boys," but
it was that's not how he was.
Really? Okay. Okay.
That's totally different person.
All right.
Like way, yeah. So
we can talk like that too if he wants to.
I know, like
I know how to. Yeah, but like I don't want to automatically assume somebody's trolling until they show me. So I hear you. I just didn't know the full context till you explained it.
Yes, and you know what? So far, my instinct's been right on all two other our troll callers. So
But I like to play with trolls. They're fun.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I don't want to encourage it.
No,
like,
I know. And I ultimately I don't either.
Games. I want to engage in honest and open dialogue. So let's all I'm going to say is hopefully this last one isn't a troll. I've had good luck up until this is the first week where we're just getting hit by everybody. This I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Good thing we're getting more viewership. Bad thing we're getting more trolls. Like last week, we had a psychic call in, and that was exciting.
I would love to talk to Patty. Oh my goodness.
Maybe I can get her to do a private reading for you.
Fantastic.
All right, let's get. Oh, please don't be a troll. Please don't be a troll.
Sean says in chat he got disconnected. Sean, just go ahead and call back.
We'll get you.
GI, are you there?
I am here, yes. And look, already I'm going to tell you I'm sorry for the background noise. If you hang up on me, I understand. I'm trying to put pajamas on my son. But,
okay.
So I'll just get right there. So the argument, sorry. If you hang up on me, like I said, I understand. So the argument is this, right? I'm going to lay out my premises, and I want to see if you agree with them. I'm giving an argument for the existence of God, okay?
Okay.
And here is premise one. Do you think that only propositions themselves can be true?
No.
All right. What else can be true that is not a proposition?
Well,
reality can be true.
A proposition infers
reality. What do you mean by reality?
Well, hold on. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Brian.
I was just going to say the world as I experience it can be true. It's not necessarily a proposition.
That's a proposition. Hey, that's a proposition. The world that I experience is a proposition.
Okay.
Right. Every proposition takes a proposer. So absent a proposer, what are we talking about?
That's just me inferring data.
Like proposer? What does that even mean?
Well. So you said it's a everything is a proposition. Is what? What is your claim again? I'm sorry.
No, let me restate. I'll restate my question. This is premise one. The only thing that can have a truth value are propositions themselves. This is uncontroversial, by the way, even among secularists and.
I'm not. Okay, but here's the thing. I'm not coming from your history. I'm coming from my history, and I've never heard somebody say that sentence before. So I'm just trying to break it down in my own head, dude. That's all.
When you say proposition, that means that basically that someone's making a claim. So to me, that's what it means. That when someone says a proposition, they're like, oh, well, here's this explanation or what have you, and then we decide the truth value of it. But I don't
know what a proposition is. Would you like me to define it?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Give us your definition.
A proposition is a primary truth bearer, which linguistically cashes out with a subject and a predicate.
Actually, so what I'm seeing is it's a statement or assertion that expresses a judgment or opinion.
Yeah, that's the definition I was
write down on a piece of paper two statements. Listen very carefully. If I write down on a piece of paper two statements, Socrates is a man, and I write that 2 times, I have 2 statements, but it only expresses one truth.
No,
Do
you have.
understand that?
You don't have 2 different statements, though. You have 2 iterations
right.
of the same
That's fine.
statement.
I have 2 of the same statement, but the statements refer to one truth.
That's not significant, but okay. Like,
That
I
one
get what
truth
you're
is
saying.
the proposition, the primary truth bearer.
Okay, I guess I don't disagree. What's your second proposition? Or, sorry, the second component of the argument.
No problem. The second premise.
Premise, thank
Second
you.
premise is this. Propositions themselves are conceptual. Do you agree with that?
Where is this going?
Can give me an example of a proposition that's conceptual?
Propositions are thoughts.
No, give me
are
an example.
intentional.
You're speaking in broad terms. Give me an example, please. Something I can relate to, like an everyday
An
thing.
example of a proposition, right? An example of a proposition is something like this. The Eiffel Tower is in Paris, right? Now that thing that I told you, that proposition, is itself ontologically a thought.
Okay. I mean, it's.
Do you agree with that?
Sure. We aren't really.
Good.
We're speaking in big brush strokes here, my dude.
What would you like me to break down?
Well,
I want you to keep going and get to your conclusion.
Want to figure out where it's going.
Yeah, I want you to get to your conclusion. I don't disagree that the Eiffel Tower is in Paris is a true proposition.
Okay, premise one, only propositions themselves can be true.
Okay.
Premise 2, propositions are themselves thoughts or conceptual by nature. Premise 3 is going to be asking a question because I'm going to trap you, right? I want to trap you guys.
Okay.
Is there anything that is true right now that no human being has thought of?
Where is this going?
Yes, I think that there is a
Did you say
certain.
yes?
I think that there, on the other side of the universe, there is a planet, and that planet has a certain mass. And while we don't know what that mass is that mass, whether or not we know about it.
Very good.
And that's true.
Very good. Very good. Very good. All right.
Did
And
you trap
agree
me, or
that
did
the
I
only
trap
things
you?
That can be true are propositions, right?
Right, but I don't know the answer to that proposition. But the truth statement that I
Very
made.
good. That's fine. No
But the
problem.
answer exists.
So
Great.
what's the
No
so what
problem.
the answer exists whether or not we know it.
That's fine. Perfect. There are some things that are true that no human has thought of. Those things that are true are primary truth bearers, or philosophically propositions.
There are some things that are, but no, things don't become true. No, hold on. No, I'm going to break this down. Things don't become true because humans think them. Things that are true are expressed by humans, but they were true whether or not humans were there.
Things were true before humans existed.
Amazing.
Well, things existed.
Good.
I mean,
Well, setting
we're
up this trap
okay. No.
for me
Here,
is-
I see where we're going
Good.
off. You're conflating existence with truth. That's what you're doing.
What?
I think you're conflating
I don't even know what that
existence
means.
with truth.
Listen, here's the question again. This will clear it up. Can only propositions be true?
Okay, I'm going to clear this up right now. Here's a phone, okay? I can show you that this phone exists. But why is it whenever we ask for evidence for God, it's like, well, you got to break down this conceptual truth going back to some grounded reality. Like, dude, just give me the evidence, man.
Are we even talking to a theist? I'm not even sure at this point.
Not this like really long, drawn out philosophical argument that doesn't get you anywhere. Give me the evidence.
It's not drawn out. Listen, hey, dude.
No.
Arguments are 50 premises long. I'm on premise number 3.
Yeah. Can you point me to something more tangible, testable? Because to me, all philosophical
here's tangible.
arguments-
Here's what's tangible. Propositions themselves are the only things that can be true or false.
So what?
Propositions are conceptual.
What does that
by
have to
nature.
do with God?
Now listen very carefully.
What does that have to do with God?
Stay with me. There are
I'm with
things
you.
true right now that no human has thought of yet. Are we clear so far?
He's trying to get to the point that only true things can have to be thought, so therefore there has to be an intelligence that knows everything about everything, because they can't be true without something knowing it. Is that where we're going?
Yes. Exactly.
See, and that's the thing, is you're tying truth to existence. Things exist whether or not we know that they are true. And the existence is not at all correlated to whether or not somebody knows they exist. Like, you're adding a huge leap here.
First of all, existence is not even a property. Kant showed this clearly. Right?
What do you mean existence isn't a property? I can conceive of something that doesn't... Wait, if I conceive of something that doesn't exist... No, if I conceive of something...
I'm not even through the third premise.
Okay, that's
I don't care.
Right. Yeah, I appreciate
we already
calling in.
We already found your conclusion, though. You're concluding that, since propositions can only come from thought, and since there's things that humans don't know, there has to be an intelligence in the universe that knows these things. But I don't grant your first premise on that about propositions, because the definition of proposition that I am familiar with is someone proposing something.
Right.
That's what
like
I think
said,
a proposition means.
And that's what I said in the very beginning. A proposition takes a proposer. Somebody has to propose a proposition. And there are things that exist absent of being proposed.
And Great. Are those things that exist propositionally?
When we propose them, they are. If we speak about them in an abstract sense, then they've been abstractly proposed. What's your point?
Oh, abstractly proposed?
Or
if I say I propose things that we don't know about, that's an abstract statement, because I said things, which is an abstract word.
A proposition, listen very carefully. When I say proposition, I'm not using the colloquial definitional, like Webster's definition.
Okay, well, we are. So what word should we use then?
Yeah, what's another word for proposition in the way you're using it, so we understand you better?
It's not making connection with me.
A primary truth bearer.
A primary mover.
Contains a subject and a predicate. That is the philosophical definition, the rigorous philosophical definition of a proposition. That is uncontested. That is uncontroversial.
But the way that you're applying it seems to be controversial. Because a lot of philosophers nowadays don't necessarily agree with you.
Listen, you guys are way behind the times. You don't even know what I'm talking about. When I say proposition, you think somebody proposing something.
All right.
Well, okay. No. That means you're talking past us, and that means you need to adjust your approach to reach your audience better, sir.
I'm sorry. That guy is done. I have no interest in these bullshit, insulting philosophical arguments, okay?
I still think...
Look here, okay? So like Martin was saying, you bring your conversation down to our level. We don't need to catch up to you. You need to come down to us. We're trying to learn about the world, and just being condescending and being like, oh, well, you guys are just dumb and don't know about... Well, tell us, explain it to us in a way that we understand, because I didn't study philosophy. I studied biology stuff, so I didn't have a philosophy class. So you want to talk philosophy, you're going to have to use layman's terms with me, or you're going to have to explain what you mean when you say something so I can address it. When we're not speaking the same language, we're just talking past each other, and we're not engaging. We need to engage. We want to talk to you. That's why we have this line. That's why we have this show. Don't call us just to come down on us because we don't know the terminology that you're using.
I'm going to come down to your level. And, thank you, Speaker Wiggin. I know for a fact the host said that not that long ago, they were trying to have conversations for laymen. And there are different shows for the philosophical debates. Yes, exactly. I don't want that. That's not the goal of the show. I'm trying to appeal to a broader audience, and I can tell you personally, I have no interest in those long philosophical, confusing arguments that don't actually get you anywhere. Like, at no point have I seen one philosophical argument that's like, wow, you're right. That's challenged my thoughts on whether God exists or not. No, show me legitimate evidence. So, and for the record, I would rather speak to people who, for instance, think when they say, look at the trees, Those are the people I want to speak to because a lot of them don't know how to evaluate evidence. Wow, I'm heated, guys. I'm sorry. This many trolls and this much philosophical crap, not for this channel.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'm just looking up proposition and logical positivism, and Bertrand Russell gets mentioned a little bit on the Wikipedia proposition page. And I mean, ultimately, what it comes down to is if that's how you believe in a god, that's fine for you. But if that doesn't convince us, then it doesn't convince us. Like, that's where we're at. So, we'll hear the argument. We'll talk about it, but. And he said there were 50 premises.
Yes, I was not going to sit through 50 premises.
Yeah, I was like, no, thank you. Pass. I'm good. I'm good with seconds. No thirds, please. When
he couldn't communicate the first one in a way that we understood it, we shouldn't have moved past the first one until we were able to understand what he was talking about. He was like, no, this is the philosophical meaning. This is what I mean, and you all just need to accept that and move on. When I didn't understand what he meant by it, I still don't, fully understand what he means by propositions have to come from a mind. Truth can only come from propositions. Anyway.
All right. So we do have one more caller, but before I take them live, I want to screen them real quick. So Brian, why don't you tell Martin tell the audience where they can find you? I'll be right back.
Okay. Well, my channel is the BrainBug YouTube channel. We broadcast from the Hive live streams where we talk to people about mostly science and debunking pseudoscience. I also do some videos where we use bugs to learn about the natural world and to learn science and to study the world around us just through this fun medium. How about you, Martin?
Yeah, so I'm pretty new to the YouTube sphere, as I call it. I started as a volunteer over in the atheist community of Austin, call screening. Ethan, you need one of those. And now I help out with audio stuff. I'm a host on the Nonprofits. So yeah, if you want to find more of me, go check out the Nonprofits. To be guest hosting on a couple ACA shows, but there's no firm plans there. But yeah, you can see me on crew cam for about 10 seconds. That's when we show all the wonderful crew that make those shows happen. But other than that, as Nightbot just told us, I don't have a Twitter because, well, the original reason I didn't have a Twitter was because Donald Trump was there, and I don't enjoy sharing a space with that man. However, Donald Trump is no longer there, so I guess I can't use that as an excuse to not be on Twitter anymore. So, yeah, please don't just add me on Facebook. Like, send me a message first. I'm fine with adding people, but like I do have some personal life stuff there too, so that's not really a networking thing for me. But if you want to get to know me better, just say hey, and yeah. Yeah, well, Ethan wants us to vamp for a little bit. What do you think's gonna happen tomorrow, Brian?
The way that people are preparing, the way that the police are preparing, hopefully things go smoothly. I kind of wish they would. Do you know if they're doing it inside? I wish they'd do it inside if they're not.
Oh, the inauguration? I haven't actually been following it. I've just been following like how they're background checking our National Guard, which apparently they don't do well enough already. And
well, did you see the Capitol Police giving the tours to the insurrectionists?
Oh, I did on January 5th. Yeah. It was incredible.
What's up, Ethan?
All right. So this will he wants to follow up from the previous call, but with a different approach. He knows that we're not interested in long philosophical arguments.
Wait, is this the same guy?
No. It's a different person.
Oh, okay.
He knows the other guy. So he has assured me no philosophical mumbo jumbo.
Okay.
So where did it? I didn't.
Hey, everybody.
Say the name. There we go. What was your name again?
My name is Bradley in real life, but I go by Vana on Discord.
Bradley. There we go.
Hey,
or
thanks
Benny,
for calling.
Whatever you go by.
Bradley's fine. You guys can call me Bradley.
All right.
Hey, Bradley.
So to you guys, I heard the last phone call that called in, and he was explaining propositions and things of that nature. I will admit philosophy is completely above my head. Really, the only thing that I have to share is an anecdotal personal experience, and you guys can laugh at my expense. I have no qualms about that.
We're not going to laugh.
But I say that I'm... Go ahead.
No, we're not going to laugh. Sorry, continue.
No worries. I value authenticity and transparency, and people on the server that we're on know that I'm a transparent user. I try to be as honest as possible and share from my personal experience. I am what they call a skeptical theist. So I don't necessarily approach that one religion has the idea to what a deity may be, but that every religion has tried to approach it and utterly failed.
Okay.
Yeah, and my belief about God is love, and you guys are more than welcome to question me on any of the ethical or moral basis for that, statement. Sorry, I'm used to the formal format.
No, that's okay. I don't like formal at all. Sorry, Brian, Martin.
No, just
Bradley.
No, I was sorry. I was turning to Brian or Martin to see if they wanted to say something.
no. I'm interested to hear your proposition on. Well, it's a proposition. I better define that word, but your position on this. So you go right ahead.
My proposition that God is benevolent. That if we are created by Him, essentially, we all have kind of an endowed nature to seek inwardly first, to try and improve ourselves first before we go trying to make judgments on others. I think what religion has done is that it's severely constricted the ability for any kind of creator or deity to communicate effectively with the human race. Start of walking into growing with a relationship that is a deity. I don't claim to know what that deity is. I don't say it's God, Allah, or any of the other things. I just say that if it is a benevolent, virtuous spirit that wants to find it, then we have to seek inwardly first. And that means by coming to grips with ourselves and forgiving those who hurt us as a means of coming to know Him closer. Him or her.
That's a good place to start from. So you said a benevolent spirit. So what those qualifiers, where are we drawing those from? That it's benevolent and it's a spirit.
Absolutely. So a qualifier for a benevolent spirit, in my mind, would come from just our consciousness as an example of something that seeks to achieve progress in terms of humanitarian efforts and treating one another good. We see that actually helping other countries and trying to help those in need is not just a hedonistic, and when I use the term hedonistic, I hope that's if everybody understands what that means, it's not.
Yeah. Humans, we're a hedonistic species, but we're also altruistic. So, in helping each other out, as you were saying, and you don't feel that there's more evolutionary grounds for that behavior and for the development of those features of our species that would substantiate that a little bit better than to propose some kind of supernatural cause.
I absolutely believe that the evolutionary features are the indication that there could be a higher power, that those things that are put within us, evolutionarily speaking, don't have to say that a God doesn't exist, but that might be an indication of, hey, benevolence and altruism may be a sign that when we really band together and unify with one another, we achieve greater goals than just fighting and warring with each other constantly.
So, I mean, I agree.
That's true of all species. When species collaborate on a task, they tend to do better than if
There's
individuals.
species that do it a lot
themselves.
better than we do too. There's like Hymenoptera, like anything in that family. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Biology stuff.
No, I love it. I love that you have that knowledge base, because I definitely don't. You bring a lot with that background, sir. No, I was just gonna ask. Oh shoot, I think I just lost my question. One sec. Oh yeah, so you said evolution. Oh my goodness, I feel so bad. What's our caller's name again? It's not on the screen.
Bradley.
Bradley, thank you. Okay, so Bradley, you were saying that you see evolution as an evidence of a benevolent God because the God gave us evolution. Is that a correct way to restate what you said?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm following. So if God just created us and zapped us here and put us here as humans, would that also be like a reasonable explanation?
That's a fair explanation. Yeah, if for instance we were just artificially inseminated on this planet to just be here as wildlife,
Right. So
I think that's perfectly fine.
What you're saying is that either way you believe in God, no matter which way it is.
I believe in something. I don't necessarily like to put it in the term of God because that can sometimes have a pejorative idea in some people's minds.
Can we say a higher power per se, or a higher being?
Creator?
Creator? Yeah, that's a good one.
A creator. Yeah.
Okay. Right. But but do you see what you just did there? You proposed it was through evolution, and I said, well, what if it was through this way? Could you appreciate it that way? And you were like, yeah, I could see a creator doing that. So you're having it either way, basically, is what you're saying, is that no matter which way we came about, it must have been by a creator. So where's the evidence for that?
The evidence for purpose?
Yeah. Like how do we
purpose
like
for existence?
Yeah, I'm not asking like is this written down anywhere, but how did you deduce this, I guess, is what
that it's not natural is what I kind of want to know. That it didn't we didn't get here through natural processes.
Well, I would say that we did definitely get here through natural processes.
So what do we need God for?
By metaphysical motions. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I don't believe that evolution. I'll be one of the very few heretics who says this. I don't believe that evolution is outside the realm of mechanisms that God might have used or a protocol that a creator may have used. But how I arrived at this conclusion was actually through introspection and kind of what I would call a moment of solace where with myself I was asked the question, what is truly good and what is truly evil, or are those completely fabricated? Are those contrasts fabricated ideas in my mind? Is it only progress and digress? Is it evolution or devolving? Not sure if those are the correct contrasts, so sorry, Chad, if I'm kind of watering this down.
No, that's okay.
No,
I myself. Go ahead.
I'm with you there. So, as far as good and evil, morality in general, there's the debate of whether there's such thing as objective morality. I am not a believer in objective morality. I believe in an objective morality to the extent that there's an objective human morality, that we have our altruistic nature to us that was passed down to help us survive as a social species, and to propagate. And like we were talking about earlier with the woodpecker, the species, the members of our species that couldn't socialize with us and didn't have that empathy are kind of culled from the pack. So, and again, humans have removed themselves from natural selection. So of course those things are still around, but the reason we have things like a sociopath or psychopathy is because we recognize people who lack that natural empathy that humans have evolved.
Yeah. And I'd say that's a very interesting thing, because there's actually some sociopaths that I see try and use the contrasts of good and evil for the justification of their motives. So for a long time, I've been kind of plagued with this idea that God had inherently set up this failing system, so to speak, when I all of a sudden thought about, well, what if the contrasts were never good and evil in the first place? What if they were not supposed to be what we conceive as, perceive, not conceive, different definitions, but
no, I got you.
What we perceive as darkness and light, we often relate to good and evil. And where I kind of peered and introspected for a moment was, what does real love look like? And I don't mean the kind of love that is more or less erotic, but altruistic,
Right.
something that comes from the heart, that is genuine.
Right. Like the
And,
kind of love where like you see somebody who's like a homeless person who's cold and you give them your coat, like that kind of love, right?
Right. Exactly. And
I got you.
funny enough, when I was introspecting, I saw an interview back in, I'm not sure if it was the 70s or the 80s, with Mr. Rogers, and he was making a case for all of these kids who had come from broken homes and how he wanted to teach them the right way to do things. And I just peered on this one concept for a moment, that a man could exude enough love that even a gorilla would actually fall in love with his TV show eventually. Apparently there was a gorilla, I can't remember her name, but would actually watch and tune into Mr. Rogers. And I remember how Mr. Rogers seemed to be this altruistic character. Now, granted, he might not have been the same person behind the screen as he was on screen, but I always thought about what it would be like to exude that kind of nature in my own personal life, and how I wanted to exude or emulate that behavior more, so that people from broken homes would feel less dejected, and how people that were, say, broken and hurting would feel more willing to open up. And I think that's a unique trait of the human race, is that thing that you had mentioned earlier, empathy. And how we don't have to
true.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I just want to say real quick that I totally relate to your Mr. Rogers stuff, because I'm trying to be like the Mr. Rogers of atheism. Granted, I will never be as good as him, of course. But
Oh my God, I see it.
Yeah,
Oh,
him and
I see
like,
it.
yeah. Welcome to the neighborhood.
Welcome to the neighborhood. Oh my God. Ethan, you're one of my favorite people, and I don't know you that well.
Bradley, I related to what you were saying about like working together, and for me, it's finding mutual ground. Like, I would rather build a bridge with somebody than go after them. Like, I would rather just work together with people. But I'm getting too hippie. Martin's yawning, so I'll
No, I'm yawning because I go to work. Like, literally, I start driving to work at 5:30 a.m. So.
I have some things to say about the notion that empathy is only present in Homo sapiens, or maybe in the genus Homo. That's a bold claim, and how we define that, and how would we assess that? Just in perspective, I mean, if you have an ant, a soldier ant, it's and someone steps on the colony, it's not going to, it doesn't think, oh, does this benefit me to go out and bite this person on the ankle, knowing that they're going to stomp on me and kill me. They don't. There's not even a second thought in that ant's head to just go out and bite the person stepping on it, even though it's going to die. It dies for its colony without a second thought. I mean, it's incredible, the altruism of these animals. And if you couldn't call that empathy for members of its hive, I don't know what you would call it.
I believe, if I may be allowed to interject, I believe that these animals being created by a creator exude the purest form of empathy, something that we have yet to learn from, and something that we can actually look at as a lesson. In fact, if you actually look, I'm going to let my Bible background leak in just a little bit here, but only just for the sake of a proverb, how it talks about the sacrifice of an ant, as you just brought up. The sacrifice of an ant is for its own, with no thought of its own life.
Right. So here's, if I can just... Sorry, go ahead.
Who goes in and pulls, the number on a bomb vest. That's sacrificial, and that could be actually equated even on the same level morally. And C.S. Lewis wrote a book. I'm sure if you guys have ever been privileged enough to read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, you got eventually around to the last battle. And there was a moment where C.S. Lewis took the reader to a place where this person who had died sacrificially in the name of Allah was actually confronted with God, and how God said, I would not be a benevolent creator if I did not say that what you were doing from your own moral perspective was actually to honor me.
So
Okay.
I have
not to...
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, I have
Go ahead,
a
Ethan.
question. So you had mentioned like ants, working together and sacrificing themselves. But how do we know they're actually experiencing empathy versus just doing what's ingrained in them to survive?
Yeah.
I don't. Can I just, before you answer, I just want to say my opinion is there's no difference between those two things. But okay.
Well, wait, you don't think there's a difference between like?
No, there is.
I would say okay, because
between empathy and doing what we do to survive.
I'd say, well, no, I would say that the way that humans express empathy is different from the way that other animals survive. Like, we do things that are like out of our way kind, like, I don't know. Go on, Brian. I don't
So
wanna,
with
I don't know,
ants,
disagree.
again, just to circle back to that, it's there's no thought at all for
Right, it's a reflex, right?
The soldiers. They don't serve any breeding function or anything. That's their job. That's the function that they serve for the colony. And I mean, they die completely, without second thought, just to go out and defend their colony. So, all the only thing they're doing is being empathetic towards others. There's no thought of self at all to that. With me, I can only speak for myself. I would feel like I would do the same thing for my kids, for instance. So I don't know that there's much difference between why an ant does that, but to what, or compared to how a human reacts with empathy.
Right.
I don't know what the criteria that would separate those would be.
Yeah. And what's interesting is actually, as much as I've loved like reading through different religious texts, like I won't confess that I know all of the holy Vedas myself, but I do strive to try and talk to people who are familiar with them, and even the Quran, because I am interested in all things religious. I think that I can learn a principle or a lesson from anything. It just, not everything is going to be relevant to my life. So I also read a little bit of Lovecraft, and my favorite thing about cosmic horror, if you guys are familiar with cosmic horror, is this fact that there are these deities out there that don't give a flying flip about our existence. They don't care. In fact, we really just exist as only a consequence of some primordial species that came and experimented with the planet, and then we became, what we are. And
I would love to sit here and talk about cosmic horrors and in different gods and like deistic gods. We do have someone on the back line that's been waiting for about an hour, though. So was there any final points that you wanted to go ahead and wrap up with?
Yeah. My final point is that a judgment was never meant as a tool for us to apply to others, but for us to apply to ourselves. And that's where most, I think, of the religious authorities in the West have failed, and that the West has been plagued with individualism. I think the beautiful thing about what rose out of the messages that Christ was trying to teach was uniformity and peace for working with others. And that's all I have to say. Thank you so much.
No, seriously, thank you for being so damn pleasant, dude. Like, if all callers could be like this, like, I really appreciate your kindness and your overall outlook on life. It sounds like you're the theist version of me. Like, dude, let's all just love and work together.
Oh yeah, I would have let you keep going, but we had Sean on the back line who's been having some trouble getting through to us, so I wanted to give him a chance to.
But yeah, thank you, Bradley. It was nice talking to you.
Certainly. You guys have a great night, okay?
You too. All right.
Bye-bye.
Real quick,
All
before
right.
we get to Sean, I just want to plug A few things. February 4th is the Recovering from Religion fundraiser and the year anniversary of my channel. It's going to be from 7 to 10 p.m. We have got over 30 atheist and Christian YouTubers involved, including the genetically modified skeptic, Eric Murphy, Aaron Ross, Seth Andrews, BrainBug, Kenneth Leonard, Jenna Bell, Vila Bianca. I'm doing all
Puck.
these.
We're gonna have Puck
Puck.
there.
Hannah
love Puck.
Vaughn. Yeah, we all need a little Puck in our lives. And
That's a Thursday topic.
and Hannah is also my co-host for a show every Thursday at 9 p.m. If you're looking for a break from normal atheist content, we talk dating, relationships, and sex. This Thursday, we will be talking ADHD and relationships, particularly ADHD and sex. And then every Sunday, I host a show with Jenna Belk on mental health. It's called the Ethan and Jenna Show. Wow, without further ado, let's hurry up and get to our last caller. There's two. I'm not sure which one I should. Oh, no, there's only one now. Okay. Sean, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
Hey, what's up?
We hear you, Sean.
That's brilliant. Let me just close off one of these because I've got a delayed. Right, I'm going to close that one off. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, can you hear us?
Perfect. Brilliant. No, I had feedback of like 5 seconds. By the way, I'm from the UK.
No way.
You can tell by my accent.
I would never have guessed that.
Yeah, it's great to speak to you guys. Ethan, you're on the God Believers versus Atheism page that I think that I mentioned about Patty earlier.
Oh, yes.
Earlier today. But yeah, my reservation is now, if I just declare my position, if that's okay, because then we can obviously, everybody can go forward from there and everybody knows where the position lies. So I'm an atheist. That's what I declare myself as. I have since I was about 8 years old. My Catholic devout mother stated to me that when I showed interest in physics, everything is science. Everything. Not just this, not just that, but everything. And she made it fundamentally clear. So it didn't bow well for me for any religious cause. It seemed very, 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 I'm not going to say the word stupid, but very, very, very ridiculous and very jumping the gun kind of. There's no kind of methods to gaining that kind of answer. So with myself, I mean, I am stuck in a bit of a rut. So I'm finding it hard to distinguish that mathematics and physics, to me, perfect. It is there. It is sense. It is fundamentally observed, and they are theories, they are laws, they are all created. I don't discount them, especially evolution, for example, obviously from the previous callers that we've had today. But the one thing that I can't pinpoint on my justification or reasoning now, this is philosophy, and I do apologize for that, because you've had
as long as you can put it in words that we'll understand,
right?
That's all we ask.
And as long as we can talk about it, yeah.
No, exactly. This is more the call that I wanted to make today was, it's just I don't do this often, but I mean, my partner, and we've got a 3 and a 4-year-old, a 3-year-old boy, 3-year-old girl. We've all just had COVID.
Ooh.
My 3-year-old boy at nursery was the carrier. It's been about 20 days now since we're out of it. But the thing that has bothered me for quite a while, and we're talking about over a year, you know, I understand the quantum mechanical level, mathematics. It was my enjoyment, believe it or not, in school, mathematics. And the thing that bothers me is consciousness. There's no explanation for that. And I can only show through a physical level that quantum mechanics takes a kind of example of that, and not an answer, but it kind of rounds something up.
What do you
know?
Could you
so it's.
Could you
Sorry,
explain that?
fire away.
Yeah. Could you when you say it rounds off or explains consciousness? If you could kind of like explain that to me or break it down real quick.
So determinism. I was a determinist until about a year ago. You roll a ball down a hill. You can allocate where it's going to land.
Right, because we know how gravity and hills work.
You apply velocity, you apply the weights, you apply this, and you roll it down. You can it's kind of like golf in a way, you know, just to fundamentally, you know, just to rule that out.
Making predictions based on physics. Okay, I'm with you.
Yeah, that's no argument there.
Yeah, there's cause and effect. Immediately, it is just, there's no answer to it, or should I say outside of it, but cause and effect. You play snooker or you play pool, you hit a ball at this angle or that angle and with this amount of power and that amount of weight to a cue ball.
Yeah, with you on the physics, dude.
Totally.
Yeah, no arguments.
Where
are we going?
Lands. You know, that there's science behind it. We know that. But the one thing is that conscious choice, I don't believe, and this is a belief, as an atheist, I am an atheist, but I don't believe that physics and mathematics explains that. Physics and mathematics explains determinism completely. There is no argument there.
That
but
physics and mathematics explains determinism?
Choice. I don't know if it's due to evolution or.
So that we're not talking past each other. Can you give us your definition on determinism, the definition that you're using when you say that? I just want to make sure we're using the same.
Well, determinism is to me, or what I've looked at. Like I said, it was quite a big deal. It was like, again, believe it or not, kind of not like an enlightenment, but it was kind of like, oh, I know what I am now. You know, but it was even fatalism. You know, it was, there's a cross on your back and there's no way of escaping what the universe, from the initial point of the Big Bang, causes. There is no way out of that.
Yeah. So everything's predestined. Yeah.
But the quantum mechanical level refutes it.
Since we can see things on the quantum mechanical that we can't predict with our physical model, it contradicts the fact that the notion that everything is predetermined, right?
It's exactly. It's like I said, like we'll put it down to like baby steps. It's, you kick a ball, it's going to hit this or that or that or this, and it's going to cause effect. You know, and it's
but okay. So to put it in perspective, like on the quantum level, though, you kick a ball, and it goes through the tree instead of bouncing off of it for no reason that we can understand. At the quantum level, that's why we can't account for things down to that level.
Yeah, but I mean, physicality and mathematics. You know, mathematics carries physics, as far as I'm aware. There is no physics, and there is no math if either one doesn't apply.
In math, both of them are human constructs, but that we make to explain what we're
exactly. To measure them, they are fundamental of both of them playing their own role, and they're coexisting. But when it comes to, consciousness, we can all express the neurons firing. We can all express that there is something hidden that we don't measure yet, but both are disagreeing with themselves. And not only that, but like I said, it's like when it comes to like quantum mechanics, there is that observer effect. And that doesn't mean that you just have to look at it. We'll understand that, but there is a collapse of the wave function.
Right. That's so weird, isn't it? It really is.
Collapse it. So everything acts as a wave until it's observed or not observed, but it's I can't think of the bloody word. I do apologize. It's called in the morning.
Yeah, it's basically when you're not looking at it, it becomes particles. Is how.
Yeah. So it's even been explained that observation doesn't collapse a wave function, or observation does, and also collapsing the superposition of a further particle does. The quantum entanglement. So to me, the one thing that I'm struggling with at the moment, and I do admit and I do heed that fact, and that's the reason why I wanted to call in today or this morning or last night. I'm kind of on the verge, is that there is a kind of a difference of there's no factual answer, and even an atheist, a scientific, but it doesn't explain that. So to me, my physics and math adds up, even down to the infinite regression paradox. Everything it bothers me at night.
So then that's like the same thing when we go back to the Big Bang.
Does not explain where we come from, but why it is not thoughts or choice.
Yeah, that's why we can go back to the singularity, because our math falls apart there too. After going back further than that, we can't make predictions. So, and then on scale, we get down to.
So I know, sorry, real quick, Sean, I did have to mute you because we're getting delay and the talking over each other. The audience unfortunately can't hear that. But what I would like to do real quick, because we got to wrap it up in a moment, is it sounds like what you're saying is you're one of the things that might convince you of a God is because you can't explain everything, that explanation might be God. Is that an accurate representation of your opinion?
It's sorry, am I on now? I do apologize. I'm about 2 seconds behind because I'm from the UK. It was so you're absolutely correct, Ethan. You're absolutely 100% correct. There is something that does not fundamentally make sense that physics and math cannot answer. That's my bother. That's what irritates me.
I would say that it can't answer it right now, but that doesn't mean it won't be answered. Just like many years ago, they used to think, lightning was thrown by the gods. So the important thing is to, just because there isn't an explanation yet, we shouldn't jump to God, because from my understanding, I think that's the God of the gaps. I would say, hey, I'm curious. I'm going to keep looking into this, but I'm not going to stress about some possible creator of the universe, because I think
Absolutely.
it will eventually have a naturalistic explanation.
You're right just to lay awake at night thinking about waveform collapse when they're observed and stuff. That's those are that's good. More people should be laying awake thinking about that and trying to work it out, because that's how we move forward.
But yeah, we do have to wrap it up.
I mean, guys, just to wrap up, just the closing end, if that's okay. I know that you guys have been on for quite a while,
like a minute or less.
It's literally just fundamentally, I mean, a materialistic and a naturalistic look at everything doesn't seem to compute everything, and that's sort of my problem. I mean, we have choice. I believe evolution. I actually don't believe evolution. I know evolution is fact. There's no question about it, and I don't question science. I am a complete 100%. If a scientist says it and studies perform it, and they say this, then, like I said, I was a probabilist, a determinist. I could happily tell you a deterministic outcome, but quantum mechanics does what it does. It throws its curveball, and I don't think as such that quantum mechanics is adhered to it or bound by.
We really do. Sorry to cut you off, but we really do have to wrap it up because we're almost an hour over time. But Sean, thank you for taking the time to call in. Sorry we had so much trouble getting you connected.
Yeah, good to talk to you.
The only point of clarification I would like to make is you had said that you would accept, scientists, what they say 100%. I wouldn't, only because I don't want to exercise absolute certainty. I would say I'm reasonably confident in the science, but I don't think I could ever say I trust anything 100%.
There is, and I'll just close. I'll take 30 seconds.
We actually really do have to wrap it up, but thank you so much for calling in.
Yeah, thank you, Sean.
Nice talking to you.
Okay, guys.
Sorry, we normally, it's like the goal is an hour and a half, but it's cool when the show goes 2 hours, and I don't mind going over, especially today because we got stuck with a lot of that philosophical mumbo jumbo. And it looks like we have Catholic tradition on hold, but Catholic tradition, I'm sorry, you were not very pleasant to speak to.
Oh wait, but I think I know who that is, or at least I recognize the name. What do you want to do, like a lightning round?
Catholic tradition's been banned from other shows.
I'm aware. Do you want to do like a lightning round, like 3 minutes or less?
Okay. Brian?
You good, Brian?
Well, I'll step back and let you handle.
Sure. All right. You got a jet, Brian?
Well, I want to. Yeah, I'll hang out. I'm beat, but I kind of want to participate a little bit.
Me too, but I know that name, so let's talk to him.
Catholic tradition. You better be pleasant. Martin's giving you a chance. 3 minutes or less.
It's not supposed to be a challenge. It's just because we've been live for over 2 hours and we're all kind of tired. So,
are you there? Hello. Okay. Well.
Aw.
Well, that kind of stinks.
Loud and clear.
Oh, now
there you are.
Yeah, there you are.
And I'm not saying we're gonna time you. I just
let's see if it still works.
Yeah.
Still hear me?
All right.
Yep.
So 3 minutes or less because we are like way over time.
And Stidix in the live chat says this might not be who you were thinking it is.
Either way, let's talk to him. Thanks for calling.
I don't know what it is with this talkative app. All right, so Yeah, the reason that some atheists don't want to talk to me is because they always lose the debates. It's the same reason they don't want to talk to Darth Dawkins and Mr. Badman and some of the others.
Is this part of your argument?
That's a great argument for
Okay,
God.
So, yeah, I'm simply responding to the false claim that the other individual put out.
Oh,
So,
yeah. No, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
we did.
so with
We may have
regard
mixed you
to
up
the
with somebody else. Apologies.
Oh, no.
So my question to the atheist.
Okay. Just talk.
Go ahead.
Yeah, guys, are you going to interrupt me?
No, I apologize.
Is
There's
this how it's going to go?
Yeah. No, we're all on the same page. Go
Okay,
ahead and
so,
start talking.
Anyway, with regard to the supernatural, let me ask you guys this. You know all these ghost adventures, ghost hunter shows and stuff like that?
Yeah.
What do you guess is going on there?
Nonsense
You think
and
it's,
possibly electromagnetic. Oh, wait. You asked a question. Do you want an answer? You said, what do you think is going on there?
Well, that's why I asked the question. What do you think?
Yeah, so I think that they're picking up just like all sorts of random EMP from just random sources. Like I've seen people run around with EMP detectors, and like these are in houses that still have like live electricity.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about things moving.
Well,
on
I don't
there,
watch these
stuff
shows,
like
so
that.
I don't find them to be credible.
Would you say that that's hoaxes?
Wait, well, so
I think
floating?
I think it's all bunk. Honestly,
I've
I
never
think
seen
all
anything
ghost.
floating on one of those shows.
I think all ghost hunting is bunk.
So you're saying that it's all fake, that it's they're putting on an act, that it's just a hoax, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that maybe some of them believe that they're correct, but just like people who believe that they're correct, they feel like they're right until they're proven wrong. It's just kind of hard to prove them wrong when their claims are really loose and abstract.
Okay, so here's my other question to you. If it's not hoaxes, then what's your best guess as to what's occurring there?
I don't know.
Which phenomenon?
Yeah,
which
which phenomenon
are you talking
specifically?
No, but you have no problem with saying that you do know that it's a hoax. But then when I ask you for an alternative explanation whereby it is not a hoax, you refuse to give me one, which shows the intellectual dishonesty of the
No, it
atheist
doesn't. You're
position.
asking us to invent a solution to a problem that you've just proposed to us, and I don't like to invent solutions. I like to go with the... please let me finish. I like to go with the solution that is most in accordance with reality. Ethan, I think we can be done.
I muted him. Okay, I actually want to address these people. This Darth Dawkins, Catholic traditionalist.
Fuck them.
And
Sorry,
Mr.
did I say that?
Batman. Have any of you ever convinced anyone of God's existence walking around and acting like assholes? You constantly verbally abuse people and claim you're this great Christian. Stop treating people like shit. Try engaging with people. And this continued victim mentality you all have, claiming everyone else is cutting you off. There's an old saying. If you run into an asshole in the morning, you ran into an asshole. If you run into assholes all day, you're the asshole. Try showing a little bit more respect to the people you engage with and just be a decent human being. And stop I'm done. I'm done with that presuppositionalist bullshit where we treat other people like crap and claim some type of moral superiority. People like that are not going to question my morals when I have the decency to respect other human beings and engage in intellectually honest dialogue, particularly when I admit I don't know something. That's called being honest. Tangent over.
Yeah, so, wait, is he still on?
No, he's gone. He dropped.
I thought so. Yeah, no, good rant. No, in all seriousness, though, I think one of the reasons, because a couple of people in chat were like, oh, good job talking to him. I think a couple of the reasons why I'm so good at dealing with the fucking troll people is because I work food service and have for my entire adult life. I'm used to trolls. I see them every single day at work. So I know how to cut through their bullshit and just, get them to either piss off or, have a meaningful conversation. And sometimes you can't get them to do what you want, and so you just need to let them piss off anyway. And so that's what Ethan did. And here we are.
Yeah, I'm not going to waste my time on that crap, dude. All you do, they engage in these conversations and just try and look for how they can trip you up. Cool. You trip somebody up. Did you convince them of God? No, you just wanted to be an asshole.
Right.
I was kind of interesting where we were going, how the ghost shows was going to lead to God, but yeah, I was a little disappointed when I found out it was just.
I just want to reiterate that he asked us, do you believe in this thing? And we said no. And then he said, well, if you did believe in this thing, why would it be true? And I'm just like, no, that's not a real question.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, all of them continually will cut people off and then accuse other people of cutting them off. Like, that's how he started this. Are you guys going to cut me off? And then
I mean, to be fair, we were all just kind of chattering at the beginning, but that's how conversations go. Like, if he wants a formal debate, he needs to find somebody who's willing to schedule a formal debate. This is not a formal, you get 10 minutes.
This is a call-in show.
Yes.
Right, this is literally just 3 dudes and, like, a streaming setup, and that's about it. So, This is not a formal debate. You don't get an allotted 10 minutes. It's a back and forth. We try not to cut in, but sometimes we're going to talk over each other.
And we can mute you.
Happens.
And that's the thing. I don't like muting people. I don't like cutting people off. I want to hear what they have to say, but I don't want to waste time on that crap. It's not useful. It's not healthy. And you just look like a jerk. Like, I don't want to talk to those people, man. So please don't call in again. I don't say this often. Actually, I think I've only said this one other time, but those people are not welcome to call in.
Ethan gives everybody a chance to get better. He gives people multiple chances to get better at presenting their evidence. But you call in just being hateful and derogatory and just, we don't got time for that. We're way over time as it is. And yeah.
Anyways, we do got to get going. But Martin, thanks. Brian, anything you want to plug before we go?
I just got all kinds of stuff releasing this week. So just keep your eye on my channel. All kinds of nice short videos for everybody to enjoy.
Awesome. Well, remember, February 4th is the fundraiser. Everyone like and subscribe. Oh, thank you to my top tier patrons. Jonathon, Friedel, Cindy Plaza, Kenneth, Leonard, Kathy Letto, JumpandShoot, Ian, Oz, Philip, Leitch. All of you are beautiful and awesome. And I hope everyone has a safe and wonderful evening. Brian and Martin, thank you so much.
Of course. My pleasure.